Alright, let's look at two more examples of the Pythagorean Theorem. One just another word problem dealing with the right triangle, and then the other one will be more of a real-life example. Okay. This first one, a right triangle has one leg that is 2 inches longer than the other leg. If the length of the hypotenuse is square root of 10 inches, then how long are the sides? Okay, so this one's going to be a little bit difficult, a little bit more difficult, little different. Okay, so I've got a right triangle. Okay, and it says one leg is 2 inches longer than the other leg. Okay, so this one's actually the shorter of the two, obviously. So I'm going to call that x. If this leg is x, and one leg is 2 inches longer than the other, that means that this side has to be x plus 2, right? And then the hypotenuse, that's the long side, is the square root of 10. Now it's important that when you read the word leg, you know that they're talking about the two sides that touch the right angle there. Okay? Now, from here, it actually wants us to find the length of the sides. And so this is going to be a little bit different in that I'm still going to use the a squared plus b squared equals c squared. But as you'll see, I'm going to go ahead and call this side a and this side b and this side c. This side has to be c because it's the hypotenuse. The other two sides can be whatever you want them to be. It can be a and b, or a and a over there and b here. Okay, that doesn't matter. But this side has to be the c. Okay, so I'm going to have x squared plus, now when I put b in, I'm going to put it in parentheses because I need to show that that whole thing is being squared, equals the square root of 10 squared. Okay, now here we've got a couple of interesting things going on. The x squared is obviously just x squared. Now here, when I square this, remember you cannot distribute the squared if there's a plus or minus here. What does squared mean? It means times itself. That's exactly right. So we need to write down x plus 2 times x plus 2, and we have to FOIL that. Now here, that root and the squared are going to cancel each other out, right? So this is going to be equal to 10. Okay, now I do still need to FOIL this, so I'm going to have x squared plus, now when I FOIL, I'm going to have x squared. Now that'll be a plus 2x and plus 2 more x, so that's plus 4x. And then 2 times 2 will be plus 4. Okay. Now what I need to do from this point is combine the like terms, get it equal to 0. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and add these two together. Alright, so x squared plus x squared is 2x squared plus 4x. And now I need the equation equal to 0, so I'm going to go ahead and subtract that 10 at the same time, which means I'll have a minus 6 equals 0 here. Okay, now from this point, I can either factor this, or I can do the quadratic formula. Okay, now again, my personal preference is if I can factor it, I'm going to factor the dang thing, because it's a lot easier to factor it than it is to do the whole quadratic formula thing. Okay, so I'm going to take out the common term, and so that'll leave me with x squared plus 2x minus 3, and I can see pretty easily that I'm going to be able to factor this one. I don't need to worry about the quadratic formula, thank goodness. So that's going to be x plus 3 and x minus 1. The positive 3 and the negative 1 will multiply to give me that negative 3. They will add together to give me the 2x. And so I'm going to have x plus 3 equals 0 and x minus 1 equals 0. I can solve each of those to get x equals negative 3 and x equals 1. Now when I look at those two answers and I look at my problem here, obviously x cannot be negative 3 because that length can't be negative 3. So x has to be 1. Okay? But it doesn't say solve for x. It says how long are the sides. So this side is going to be 1. This side is going to be 1 plus 2, which is 3. And then this side is obviously the root of 10. And so I've now answered that question. Okay? So that was a little bit more difficult just because we had to do the whole quadratic function thing and we had to combine the like terms and factor it. Okay? But again, something that you've done before, nothing overly difficult. Okay, let's look at one more example. This one is a little bit more of a real life thing, how it would actually be used. Okay, this one is for a construction worker, and he's been building a house and he wants to make sure that he's built his walls at a right angle. Now, I guess it would have been a better idea for him to figure that out before he built the walls, but well, I mean, better late than never, right? So he's going to check out his walls. He's got two walls here, okay, which meet at a corner. All right. And so he makes a mark on one wall that's 6 feet from the corner. So we're going to make a mark down here. Let's make it bright red so it's easy to see. Okay, so there's a mark that's 6 feet from the corner. Then he's going to make another mark on the other wall, which is 8 feet from the same corner. So this one's going to be 8 feet away. Alright, and now it says that he measures the distance between the two marks to be 14 feet. Okay, so when we measure the distance between these two, we get 14. Now the question is this a right angle? Well, in order to figure that out, we're going to use the Pythagorean Theorem. Because the Pythagorean Theorem says that for a right triangle, if that's a right angle, then a squared plus b squared has to equal c squared. And so we're going to kind of do the opposite here. We're going to say, well, if a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then that means that it's a right triangle. And that is a right angle. He's built the corner right. Okay? And so we're going to try that out. This is called the converse. Okay, the converse is when you say the opposite, when you work everything backwards. So I'm going to go ahead and say a squared. So I'm going to make this a and that b, and of course the hypotenuse is c. So 6 squared plus 8 squared is equal to 14 squared. Is that true? We're going to find out. 6 squared is 36. 8 squared is 64. 14 squared is, I don't know that off the top of my head. I think it's 196, but let's go ahead and pull out our calculator and check just to make sure. 14 times 14 equals, yep, 196. So 196. Does 36 plus 64 equals 196? Oh dear, no it doesn't. Our construction worker has made a big mistake, and he has not created a right angle. In fact, if you look, you'll notice that 6 plus 8 equals 14, which means that he's actually built almost a straight wall. He must be a complete idiot if he thought that was a right angle. Anyway, that's what you get. Okay, so I've solved that problem. I've shown it's not a right angle, and that's that problem. And so now I think you're ready to go to work on some other problems. Good luck.